What up, everybody? It's another episode of the DrugCultGang podcast. I'm your host, Tony G. My co-host and producer had a hard leave, had a hard stop uh, yesterday, so I am picking up the pace here, starting today. And to finish off the episode, it'll be just me. So yeah, the first episode, the first half of the episode, we covered the Nepali cover revolution. We covered China's military parade. We covered Charlie Kirk's shooting, and what that had to do with maybe Israel. And when we read the Max Blumenthal Anya Parnpill Gray Zone article. Um, I think we did not get to the oh yeah, so yeah, well I want to talk a little bit more about what happened in Venezuela. 11 people, the US Army shot and killed 11 people on a Venezuelan boat because they were narco traffickers or bringing in drugs. First thing I can tell you, I know a little bit about drugs and drug dealing. I'm not gonna really get too much into that. Anyway, but whatever. Anyway, so if you wanted to get drugs to one place to another, and you want to use a speedboat and you want to go as fast as you can, you would use a speedboat and you would minimize the amount of people on there. Maybe you just have one, and that one guy would probably have a gun. But maybe even because the guy needed to drive, at most you would have two people. One guy to drive and the other to shoot. The rest of everything else on the boat would just be packages of drugs. You can pack a drug and pack like, let's say it's cocaine. You can pack a kilo of cocaine. A kilo of cocaine is probably this big, right? I've seen them. Usually they're stamped with like an eagle sign on there or different gangs and different, sicarios or whatever, different groups have their different stamps. It's kind of like how heroin is sold in New York. If you ever seen people or like ever been in like Manhattan or all over New York or all over the East Coast, they're called stamps. And they have these little plastic like baggies that each little gang or people that serve put like a stamp. Like some stamps have like a crazy COVID sign. Some stamps say like killer shit. Some stamps have like pictures of Jesus on it and shit. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of like its own culture in itself. It's kind of like acid tabs. Have you ever been, there's like this art house, like not art house, there's like art museum where on the walls there's like a bunch of cool like 70s acid tabs. Because it's kind of like an art back in the day and even till now, people would like put kind of like certain kind of art on the tabs. You can print whatever you can want, put it onto the paper, and then drip the LSD on the paper. Those were, most of you know what acid is. Anyway, same thing with kilo bricks. You stamp them like it's like a soft powder, like a soft powder, and they put it into like a big kind of like cylinder and they press it like machine hydraulic press it so hard until it's like a hard brick that you can like smack on the table like a real hard brick. You can like knock somebody out with it. It's like a hard brick. And then you cut it up and then, slice it up, cut it up with like some spatulas or whatever to then make it into the powder itself. But that brick that you initially can put stamps and signs into the bricks. Anyway, you have a kilo about this big. If you want to make it across the border and do such a dangerous mission, kilo, I don't know how much really it's been. I don't really, I couldn't tell you. And also, I definitely couldn't tell you how much kilo is going from Venezuela to here and how much the prices have changed and what exactly it'd be. But let's say a kilo might be like, I mean, when it's at that such level, maybe like, I'm not even gonna try to say man, but let's just say 20 grand. These people want to make on that trip, these people, I mean, even these guys, actually, this is probably not theirs. They're probably making like honestly like 10K a kilo, 5K a kilo, honestly. Um, and they have so much of it, and they're probably such low grade workers. They at least want to make like, you know, 50K a trip. So they at least, or they probably want to at least make like 50 to 100K a trip. So, and these little speedboats, they're not that big. So with you and one other person and some guns and some ammo, you can't have this many sized kilos in there. And you want as many as you want. Hopefully you can make like 200K a trip. I mean, most of these guys, the way, this shit is dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't imagine if these guys are hoping, they're probably thinking, I'm not going. unless I'm making a minimum, 500K. So think about you only need this many of these things stacked up on this boat. There's no way you're gonna have 11 other people there. So there's absolutely no way this was a narco shipping operation. So these people with that, and even if it was, you're supposed to get them, arrest them, have a trial and a jury, and then convict them. No. It was absolutely they were it was you know what they call it. They said they you know how they say they how they say he was or whoever killed them was the judge, the executioner, and the fucking jury all at once. You know what I mean? You're supposed to in America we're supposed to have a legal system where we actually convict people, not just fucking bomb their boat and kill innocently kill 11 people, probably innocently killed 11 people just because we suspected them of having drugs. So that's really all I have to say about that. Anya Parnpill has actually a great book about Venezuela. And also when you talk about man, recently in my DMs, those Venezuelan girls who followed me. So of course we get into it. I'm like, yeah, I love Maduro. He's a shit. He's very socialist. Venezuela has the number one. They are number one in the amount of oil that they have in their country. So of course, America and they're in the Americas, they're kind of close to America. They want to overthrow them. They want to overthrow Maduro. So of course, to overthrow Maduro with America's huge, immense, incredibly strong amount of soft power, they use billions and trillions of dollars into soft propaganda. And leaks from the NED, the National Endowment for Democracy, have found that in Venezuela and even places like Thailand and Indonesia, they have funded transgender strippers, rappers, artists, transgender artists, and a bunch of like progressive, cool like stuff. People who take drugs and are like, degenerates and gays. Not like degenerates isn't like that's a bad thing. If you're a transgender and you do drugs, that's fine. I used to do drugs. I have no problem. And I honestly think if you want to be transgender, that's completely okay. I just don't think we should maybe like push it on to kids and like give kids things that are irreversible, like cut off things or give them drugs that are irreversible until they're 18. But once you're 18, you should be able to do whatever you want. That's like I'm a working class person. I want to appeal to the working class people, and that is like by far like 99% of working class people have that stance. So it's very reasonable. People should be able to do whatever they want. Anyway, the National Endowment for Democracy, they have been shown to go into these countries that they want to overthrow because they have a lot of minerals. They're very mineral rich, like Venezuela, and they pay rappers and prostitutes and transgenders, and especially rappers or people who have a big media following, to go, hey, we should hate Maduro. We should hate Maduro. We should like Juan, what is his name? Whatever the fuck the backup person, the person who was going against Maduro, um, Guadez or whatever. But yeah, basically we were having these DMs and she was saying like, yeah, Venezuela, he literally starves people. He literally starves people, and I'm like, let me pull this up, and I'm like, well, why aren't you starving? And she says, well, like, I'm not starving, but I've seen it. I've seen other people. He starves other people. And I'm like, okay, do you have any video? Anyway, yeah. And she was like, yeah, no, like, and she was like, I want anyone but Venezuela. So I was like, okay, who do you want to be president since your president of Venezuela is starving everybody and he kills everybody and he's a dictator and he's totally just killing thousands of people. I mean, it's crazy. Even their own people are brainwashed, but not all of them all the time. Anytime Maduro comes out, you see crowds of millions and millions of people that support him. And that's the thing. I support him because he uses his gold to fund his own people, like having free healthcare, having free education, things like that. And he's pro-Palestine. So, like the person that the U.S. wanted to be president, Juan Guaido, he's someone that would have took the oil wealth and privatized the healthcare system, which that would have completely they would have been riots because of that. But anyway, maybe not even done that. But either way, whatever he did that, this or that, he would have took the money, natural gold and money that comes from Venezuela and giving it to the elites in America. That's called imperialism. That's called colonialism. That's like a vassal state. That's whenever you have someone who's like, I'm pretty sure Guandaido even went to college in America, like totally fucking, like, uh, taught this guy, or what's the word? Like total like he was like his like totally like trained this guy, like a CIA lab grown this guy to be the perfect fucking person to overthrow someone, like acting president as they call it. Juan Guaido. Anyway, fuck that. It was funny because when Juan Guaido got caught in Venezuela eating at a Venezuelan restaurant, he actually got beat up because people there hate him so much, and people there know that, yeah, you in America try to send people like you, Juan Guaido, here to our country to overthrow us and to take our wealth. So, of course, when they see him in real life, they start beating the shit out of him. It's really funny. You can go look it up. Second of all, back to what I was saying. Yeah, I was basically, she's basically one of these people that is kind of just brainwashed. And it's same thing like with me. Like if someone wanted to argue with me, I could say, yeah, well, I am from America, but I can only say that in the sense of like if I was to say, yeah, I can tell you my rent, I could tell you how much I make, how much my rent is, how much my car insurance is, how much my phone bill is. Um, how much my MacBook was, everything I need, and basically everything I need to survive and make money, how much money I make. And I can tell you those things. I can tell you how hard it is for me. That's the only thing I can tell you about me. If you're not from America and you're having a debate with me, that's basically all you can do. I can't just say, oh, because I'm from America, I'm right, which is what she was trying to do. I was saying, okay, okay, you're from Venezuela. That's great. So tell me some things, that can help your argument. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, Juan Guaido, he sucks. Venezuela is the true president. They actually went out there and like plenty of organizations went out there, made sure that the vote was 100% clean and, and legal and 100% reputable. And it was. What a surprise. And yeah, people were pissed off, and a bunch of Venezuelan immigrants were like throwing trash and like fucking up immigrants here and like beating up cars and shit because the president that they didn't like lost because the country that they're in now did everything they can to make him lose and he still lost. So they start beating and fucking up the country that they're in now. I mean, just multiple levels of just brainwashing. I don't even know what to say. I want to see if I can pull this up here. It is pretty interesting. This is one thing I wanted to watch. I really wanted to show you guys this video because Jamal Thomas, he's an excellent political commentator. I want to have him on the show one day. This guy that he had on his show is such a great point. He has such a great point that I wanted to just play this on the pod.
Oh dear Lord,
Are you
I mean,
serious?
yeah, you get a
That's
sort of
a
eye
great
rolling
thing
reaction.
in Jair Blunt.
And
I mean, like they
yeah,
were
and
what they were paying like
that
$2.
yeah, exactly. They were getting robbed, absolutely robbed. But the intellectual paradigm that has been imposed on the West African or the African intelligentsia is that you're not supposed to think about that. That's not a problem for you to worry about. No, you should worry about abstract things. Talk about gay rights, right? Like people's kids don't have food to eat, but talk about transgender rights. You know, attend conferences in Berlin with your European friends and talk as if you exist in the same context that they do. Talk as if you share the same problems, which you absolutely do not, right? But basically disconnect yourself from your own reality and plug yourself into a European or an American abstraction, and you'll be rewarded for that. So if you consciously decide to focus on your actual problems, the actual problems that face your society, and this was an experience that I had. I'm not proud of this, but I'll just put it out there because
Basically, what he's saying here is instead of talking about real material thing that's actually hurting and actually going on in our country, like French and the West taking resources and imperialism and fucking up our country, and still the problems that people in South Africa have, and the dying and starving children in Africa, and how Africa is one of the most plundered and imperialized and colonized continents in the world. And you want to sit here and talk about transgender rights and gay rights when we have literally babies starving? Who gives a fuck what gender you want to be or what sexuality or what dick or fucking cock or vagina you want to suck? It literally doesn't matter. There are people being killed, like in Sudan and the Congo, people starving. One of the only people doing good shit right now is in Burkina Faso. But let him talk real quick. He's about to say exactly what I'm telling you, but in a more precise and even better way.
Problems, the actual problems that face your society. And this was an experience that I had. Um, I'm not proud of this, but I'll just put it out there because there was a point I was actually captured, not financially, but intellectually, by that idea that somehow Africa has transcended those conversations. Somehow Africa is supposed to be talking about these other things, talking about the fourth and fifth industrial revolution when you've not had the third industrial revolution yet, talking
Yeah.
about AI revolution and, basically trying to show the world that you exist at the same intellectual level that they do, as though you get a cookie or a pat on the head for that. I was once captured by that paradigm. As recently as 2020, I delivered a TED talk. I was living in Nigeria at the time, a TEDx talk, and in that TED talk, my premise was essentially
Kids don't have food to eat. But let's talk about gay rights, or let's talk about transgender rights. Come on now. This is always what I talk about. They always, instead, they want you to think about anything else but class and materialism, dialectical materialism, like Marx. Where's my book by Marx? Oh, I think it's over there. But anyway, I had a book by Marx just right. Actually, I have to get this for you guys. Just 1 second. So yeah, talk about dialectical materialism and how Marx, they want us to talk about anything else but class and materialism, dialectical materialism by Karl Marx. They want us to talk about anything else but kind of material problems. They want us to talk about abstract problems. Neither are there, like in the what's his name's character in Wolf of Wall Street. He's like, it's bullshit. It's nothing. It's in the air. Like inequality. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives, of course. Racial equality matters, but like the BLM, that was totally. Um, very much like the Black Panthers. It was like Black Panther was good. They were the shit. But the government, why am I blanking on so many words today? The government went in secretly and started fucking things up for them. Same thing with Black Lives Matter. There's a complete word for it. Jesus Christ. But anyway, here's my Marx book. When you want to see if someone's read a book, my little bookmark here is right little more than third way in the middle because this is my third time reading part one. When you want to see how much someone has read a book, look at those lines in the book there. That means how many times they opened it. Because see, every time you open it, it makes those crinkles, especially I think if it's a softback, so you can feel. Yeah, I usually always keep my Karl Marx book right there. Right now I've been rereading this book, Gilles Deleuze and Felix Guattari, Anti-Oedipus, Capitalism and Schizophrenia, because I've been thinking about capitalism and schizophrenia a while now. And I've read The Fourth Political Theory. I think I read this about 5 times. I only read about 5 times because I was in a place where this was my only book for a while and I couldn't get any other books. So I had to keep reading it. But yeah, I read it like twice just because I liked it so much. But yeah, this is if you want a real book about like my channel, talk about why I got so much into. I used to be like a politics person, but why I still am still about like politics. But why I started saying DrugCultGang, we talk about history, culture, and geopolitics is based because this book right here, and about how even politics, domestic politics in America, it's all surrounding, it all makes sense, it all has to do with geopolitics. This is a lot better term. Also, I've been seeing the rise in that term with people saying it and mentioning like that, and like even the rise of like literal Instagram pages called like geopolitics J9 or like John Geopolitics. Like I've been seeing more geopolitics related accounts. But anyway, yeah, like they want you to think about anything else but class, like gay rights, like race, like transgender stuff. Because if you're trans, whether you are okay with transgenders or you're not, it divides us. Whether you're transgender or someone's just like not comfortable with being in the same restroom as a transgender person or same being in the same restroom as their little daughter as someone who has a penis, okay, that's conflict. If you don't like a black person or a black person doesn't like a white person, that's conflict. If you're gay and you don't like straight people, not really a thing, but like if you're a straight person and you don't like gay people, that's conflict. All they want is conflict. So they want us to talk about every single one of these things beside class. So they want us to talk about basically saying, let's talk about everything, all these abstract things while literal children are dying. Listen to this. Also, the African intelligentsia is also very majorly corrupted and controlled by the worldwide, like imperialist intelligentsia.
And in that TED talk, my premise was essentially that Africa needs to stop talking about resources. Africa needs to do away with the concept of resource nationalism. That Africa's resources are not really as important as we think they are to the world. That essentially African people need to for I'm going to sort of sum it up very crudely because I said a lot more than this, but essentially a boiled down version of what I was saying was everybody should go learn to code, right? Which
Interesting.
in hindsight, like
Don't be programming.
I've actually tried to get that talk taken down because I'm so ashamed of it now in hindsight because looking I feel so much embarrassment at how intellectually captured I was at the time that
Uh,
I was sitting in the middle of a city of 21 million people, that's Lagos, the largest city in Africa, and I was getting roughly 6 hours of electricity a day, right? If you stepped out of where I lived and you walked for 15 minutes, you'd see a slum, like the most stereotypical African slum with incredible, mind-bending poverty. And I wasn't looking at those things as the issues I should be worried about. And I was rather, trying to appeal, I guess, to a European audience, like, oh, African resources and all that. African resource nationalism isn't a thing that Africans should be concerned about. It's an idea from the 50s. It's an independence era idea. It's been 60 years since independence. We're supposed to have moved on,
right.
and these are narratives that have been very deliberately pushed on the African intelligentsia, that the fact that it's been 60 years since independence somehow means that fundamentally something has changed and Africa has moved on and things are different now. They categorically are not. Nothing has changed. The economic dynamic that existed in 1960 still exists today. The
Mhm.
only difference is we have TikTok, right, to to talk about it on.
One thing I want to say too is I was also captured by more liberal kind of type thinking, like watching ContraPoints and philosophy too, so like that. But here's the thing, I was only in that because I was into left shit. It's still like my working class brain. I didn't really like that shit, but it was really the only place because I couldn't go to college, so I didn't have anywhere else to go to but these weird ass people on YouTube. I love the shit they talk about, like politics and all this shit, but I hated all of like the weird like rich kid, you know, stupid shit. Um, so they were really only the people I could go to. And even then, but I was just so young. At the time, I was literally only like 15 or 16. My brain was so malleable. So yeah, they kind of brainwashed me on some of the like kid trans shit that like, um, kids should be able to get, breast surgeries that young, 10-year-old girls should be able to get their breast cut off if they want to. and the parents should be okay with that, or that kids should be able to get hormones injected to them if they're okay with that. They really did brainwash me into something. Not, I don't remember. I don't remember if I was just kind of like pro-gay in general, or if I was that radicalized, but I was pretty lib. But that was because my brain was so malleable. But then I took a break off just Twitter and the internet a little bit and started like hanging out more with like my like in the hood and the projects with my friends and shit, and it brought me back into like the real world shit. So then when I got back into politics, it felt like I was even smarter than ever because I could actually connect with the working people. I said I actually have real working class friends. These are the people who actually, because also my friends, they're strapped up. They got Mac 11s, they got Dracos, they got Glock 45s, they got Glock 17s, they got Glock 19s, fucking, they got ARs, they got AK 47s, full on kit with the motherfucking scopes on them, with the mags taped to the back, so you can da 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 one that pull it out, turn it over, da, 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 da. Y'all don't really know about some of y'all don't really know about the gun shit. Anyway, people in the hood have guns, and people in the hood are working class. So if you want to win the revolution, you need to connect to those people, my type of friends in the hood who have that kind of defense. So, and then I realized, yeah, and I started trying to talk about that shit around them, and they're like, "Yo, we don't really fuck with that." So I said, "You know what? Yeah, that's true." So I quit fucking with that bullshit. That's why I started my own podcast. 'Cause I was like, bro, all the people that are doing this political shit and talking about this communist shit are like gays and people that think the working class are into like seeing a man like with a wig doing all this like crazy shit in the bathtub and it's like and like fighting over it on Twitter. I'm like, yo, this is stupid. I want to actually show some real nigga shit. You know what I mean? This is a real regular guy who happened to just be born and I have pretty good genetics because I didn't really, I actually, in school, I did really well, but I went to really bad school, but I did really well. That's happened to be somebody that happened to be found this shit. And I put it, it's not really like I'm so skilled in genetics. It's just that I put in so much effort. All I did was put in effort. Like sometimes for years, all I would do is work out and read and eat and read and eat and sleep and read. I didn't even have friends at some point. Some points I still have no friends. All I'm doing is just sitting back and reading. That's it. And sometimes I can't even afford the books. I have to fucking download a free PDF online. Like right now, I couldn't find or afford Michael Parenti's black shirts and reds, so I had to just get it off the PDF. Um, but yeah, man, like I was saying, like him, I was kind of indoctrinated and shit at first, but I stopped. Basically, what happened step two is I stopped watching political shit. I started hanging out more with the people in my community. I realized these are the people that I actually want to um mobilize and get on my side. And I said, okay, I'm gonna start my own podcast where it's more centered at that type of shit. Doesn't mean that if you're trans, you're dude. I scroll my notifications and my followings all the time. I see trans people all the time. And if you're trans, you're watching this, what's up? I totally love you. As long as you're an adult doing what you want to do and you're not hurting anybody, like the transgender shooter that just shot up and killed however many kids, I completely fuck with you. Even some of my best friends were trans. I actually had one trans friend. He died of a fentanyl overdose. God bless him. Think about him every single day. But he was trans. I have no problem with trans people. Just like but they try to say I'm transphobic because my few key criticisms I have of the movement and how they try to, the government, the CIA tries to take over the leftist movement with the trans ideology shit, but let's keep playing this.
Still exists today. The
Mhm.
only difference is we have TikTok, right? To to talk about it
TikTok.
on. Fundamentally, the economic and political dynamics that make Africa what it is have not changed at all since the 19th century. So I guess it takes, I guess you need to have a sort of come to Jesus moment, like a wake up moment, like I had, when you eventually start to question some of your more sort of foundational assumptions,
Yeah.
right? So when I started to fundamentally question these assumptions was when um I well, there were several times when I had these moments, but for me one of my biggest moments was when I happened to speak to someone who is involved in the commodities business, shall we say, in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Mhm.
And the things I heard were in direct conflict with every assumption that I had, because the assumptions I had were that the problems in DR Congo were basically driven by greedy African warlords who were trying to profit off of minerals. And it's like they were looking for easy money, basically. That's the narrative I had been fed. That was the easy thing. And this person I was speaking to, who, by the way, happens to be American, made it very clear.
All right, enough of that. The recent SCO summit happened and Victory Day parade in China shook the Western world. With the parade showcasing China's innovative military capacity and new technology that they hope will act as a deterrent to Western aggression, to the announcements of the Siberia Power 2 pipeline going directly from Russia to China and going around Europe. The West is finally smartening to awake to the reality of the emerging multipolar world. All about the multipolarity here. We're all about multipolarity. And if you really want to learn more about the multipolar world, check out the fourth political theory. Emerging reality multipolar world. Pictures of Putin, Modi, and Xi laughing together seem to show great standings in their personal relationship. Modi and Xi in particular seem to be mending their differences in stride as a bilateral relationship between their respective superpowers in the wake of U.S. alienating India with tariffs relating to Russian gas. So yeah, the whole world is seeming to realize that U.S. is kind of being an outsider and kind of being like people that are like like the weirdo kid that sits in like the corner of the room and like picks his nose and eats his boogers and like doesn't interact with the rest of the kids. That's how the rest of the world is looking at the US right now. Um, Basically, we can kind of wrap up now. There's a few things that I want to talk about but like I said, follow me on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, I basically don't know what the fuck you're doing. But just for some things to like talk about. Oh yeah, my post, like this Z post right here. Check it out. It's at 28,000 likes. My Mao post right here. It's at 24,000 likes. Anyway, um, one interesting thing is that Stalin was in the American magazine, the American magazine called Time. Joseph Stalin was featured on the covers of Time magazine as Man of the Year in 1939 to 1942. When I posted this, I posted The Weeknd and Playboi Carti's song Timeless because I was like, yeah, Timeless. Anyway, I missed out. Shut the fuck up. Come on, Cardi. Shut the fuck up. I missed out on a major opportunity um for putting Man of the Year by Schoolboy Q instead of Timeless. I should have put Man of the Year by Schoolboy Q for the song for that song. I really fucked up everybody. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not really good. Sometimes I just don't really put a song at all, but because it's really hard for me to choose. I'm not really a big music. I used to be a big music person. I used to want to be a rapper. But I realized like, dude, everybody wants to be a rapper. It's just not gonna work. I'm just like one out of a billion. It's like one out of a trillion chance I'm gonna be the one that blows up. So I was like, what can I do that is still hard and still rewarding, something I still really like, and I want, and because always in my rapper, like when I wanted to be a rapper, I wanted to blow up, and then I wanted to start doing like TV shows and movies about communism. I was always a communist since I was like literally 12 years old, and I wanted to do TV shows and movies trying to help the world and even like donating and shit. I thought donating was like something real or like starting like a communist party or whatever. But the plan was to blow up first through rapping so then I could get the resources. But I realized step one rapping, that's never gonna come. So like what's something that I can start as a career that is more likely for me to happen. And I thought, what about YouTube and like doing podcasting? So yeah, I started a YouTube channel, and then now we got here, and then so I thought, now that we got here, eventually now we can do the rapping shit. But anyway, when I was a rapper, I used to be way more into music. Sometimes I still like to drive around and like blast music as loud as I can if it's like a dope song or whatever. But I'll just report on some reporting. I'll just report on here on some reporting I've been doing on Instagram recently. So Chinese satellites feed Houthis, aka Ansar Allah, target data to help fight Israel. U.S. officials are asserting that Chinese companies are providing support to the Houthi militants in Israel. The Financial Times is quoting a senior U.S. State Department official who says the Houthis have been receiving Chinese satellite data in addition to support from Iran for the attacks that started in late 2023 and targeted more than 100 merchant ships. That's Tony G for DCG News. Fuck yeah, China. That's them helping Palestine and helping fight against the axis of resistance. And all these bitches crying about China not doing enough, they're literally giving the Houthis target data. Like, bro, they're doing a lot more than your bitch ass does. And also, you can't just wild out and do too much. It's a game of chess. If you like in a game of chess, if you go straight for the fucking queen to try to take them out, you'll get knocked out and lose the game. It's the same thing with geopolitics. It's like chess, but like 20D chess, not even 4D chess, but like 20D chess. It's very complicated. So for everybody that thinks they know what the fuck they're talking about, they don't. China plant. This is one of my favorite reportings that I done too. Um, China plans to open National Museum dedicated to African culture and history, announced by the China Africa Institute. I even love that there is a China Africa Institute. That's awesome. I'm gonna put my glasses on for this because it's pretty fucking dope. Anyway, my eyes are hurting a little bit. Um, this is the cool handmade thing I made where I put the China artifacts right here and him with some African leaders, she with some African leaders. And this is all really hard to do because the Canva, I use Canva, and the Canva app, there is no free way. You have to pay for it. I don't have enough money to pay for this bullshit. So I had to go to a whole other app to get the thing to where you can make like the background clear or whatever. Anyway, I thought this was actually one of my best ones that I made, one of my best news graphics I ever made. But let's go on to more of the reading here. Um, China plans to open its first national museum dedicated to African culture and history, announced by the China Africa Institute at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. The project aims to showcase Africa's rich history, rich heritage, which it really does, and it's been wiped away by a lot of Western powers. Plenty of people like Hannibal, which is came from Carthage. He was a fucking one of the smartest greatest military commanders in the world. Egypt, literally the most advanced ancient civilization. Literally everything, every technology that you can think of and every way of life and culture comes from Egypt. Even the Sumerians. Actually, some Sumerian, a lot ancient Sumerian Egypt started relatively around the same time. So they really did share a lot of things. Like even in Jesus in Christianity, the thought of like the big boat, that came the biblical flood narrative, that came from the Sumerian flood narrative in books like the Epic of Gilgamesh and things like that. So that whole flood narrative, literally, it's not just like, oh yeah, it happens to be two books. They happen to both be about a big flood that came and the god told him to build a boat. No, even in the original Sumerian flood myth, God told what's the guy told the main character, bring your family, bring an animal of each gender so that they can have sex and reproduce like a male and a female. Like literally the Christianity, the biblical flood narrative with Noah is literally like a carbon copy, like a copy and pasted version of the Sumerian uh flood myth. It's actually insane. And so much things that we get from, and even like there's this statue of Cyrus the Great in Persia, and he's wearing Hemsem crown, which comes from Egypt. So that just shows Egypt was very influential all the way from to the west, all the way to Asia, everywhere. There's even a cool video I shared with Donald Trump and Xi Jinping talking about how old Egypt is as a civilization. And he even admits, yeah, China is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, but Egypt is even older than us. But yeah, instead of the Chinese Academy, so the project aims to showcase Africa's rich heritage while also strengthening cultural ties between China and and the African continent. The museum will feature exhibits on African heritage through artifacts, art, and historical narratives, along with interactive displays and educational programs to promote cultural exchange and understanding between China and African nations. I think this is really dope. One of my main reasons why I think this is really cool is because a lot of Chinese people aren't very familiar with African people, so when a lot of African live streamers go to China, some of them do it on a nefarious way. They're like, look at all them trying to take pictures of me and say hi to me and ask me about my hair. Look how racist they are. Look how racist they are. Because that's what they're so brainwashed about what racism is supposed to be in America that they think plain, curious, nice, respectful, curious people like in China are racist just because they want to talk to them and maybe take a picture with them. But I think with these China-Africa relations, strengthening these relations, I think it will definitely strengthen these bonds to where people won't be so curious, and it'll just be more of a regular thing for Chinese people to see black people, and like they'll act more chill and regular around them. But most black people go and they say they actually love the attention because they're respectful and it makes them feel like a celebrity. And who doesn't want to feel like a celebrity? And if you don't want to feel like a celebrity, all you have to do is tell them no and they'll go away. They're not like people in India, like when in like videos are like the Indian guys staring at the girls on the beach. Like it's not like that. If you tell them politely to tell them no, they'll go away. Anyway, this is some more things I want to report about just in case you guys haven't seen that I'll talk about on Instagram. You know, I'm Mexican. My dad's half Mexican, half black. My mother's Sicilian. Look at beautiful Frida Kahlo and her picture with Stalin. This is Self-Portrait with Stalin, painting by Frida Kahlo, 1954. This is something that I wrote for this piece. Growing up a poor working class Mexican, Frida's image was everywhere. On murals in the hood, notebooks, t-shirts, and museums, she was presented as an icon of pain, passion, flowers in her hair, and as a symbol of feminist resilience. And she was all of those things. But the part that they always seem to leave out in the mainstream sanitized version, her unwavering committed communism. Those aren't obscure footnotes. They are central to who she was. She was a dedicated Marxist-Leninist, a staunch member of the Soviet Union. Her diary isn't just filled with sketches and pain, it's filled with the names of her ideological heroes. Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao. She painted herself holding a portrait of Stalin, a man she saw as a guiding light for the proletariat. The man she saw as a guiding light for the proletariat. She wore her politics literally on her chest, proudly sporting the hammer and sickle. And this is, as you can see, as the third picture I put up here. That is a plaster cast that she made of like her baby and like a hammer and sickle. Um, it's fascinating to me how her image can be so commercialized, turned into a pop culture commodity, the very thing she would have despised. I actually think we talked a little bit about this on the literally like the when Jay was here just earlier in the episode. Anyway, we'll go to something else. That's something I also wanted to report about. Talking about a lot of people don't realize that Frida Kahlo was because they think that because she did have a relationship with Trotsky, but she later turned into to a Stalinist because if you're smart and you actually look at the situation, you can clearly see that Trotsky was being kind of like a jealous bitch, and Stalin is a real nigga. So you kind of just happen to see that. Also, you have to read this book called Gorbachev's Lies. It's a really long title. It's basically about the speech, the secret speech of Gorbachev. Not or not Gorbachev, the guy Khrushchev, about how Khrushchev, when Stalin died, the guy that became president after Stalin, Khrushchev, he came up and said that Stalin was this horrible person and did this whole speech about it. It's all lies. And this guy goes into about how it's all lies and basically spreads all these Trotskyist myths. Well, I mean, basically denounces and proves that all these Trotskyist myths are fake and bullshit. Um, uh, Here's a cool quote by Kim Jong-un. Palestine is an issue not only for Arabs and Muslims, but also is an issue of freedom. Kim Jong-un, Supreme Leader of North Korea. In October 2023, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un publicly expressed support for the Palestinians with a statement, Palestine is an issue not only for the Arabs and Muslims, but also an issue for freedom. The DPRK has historically supported Palestine. You guys have to remember this. North Korea, they've always been behind the backs of Palestinians. They have historically supported Palestine, and the statement is consistent with North Korea's decades-long anti-Israel and pro-Palestinian position, which dates back to the Cold War era. Pyongyang has maintained a long history of military cooperation with various Palestinian militant and liberation groups, including the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, and Hamas. This has included providing training and supplying weapons to Palestinian factions. North Korean state media has accused the U.S. of slaughter and robbery over President Donald Trump's proposed plan to occupy the Gaza Strip and expel its population of more than 2 million Palestinians. Quote, the U.S. should awaken from its anarch- anachronistic daydream and stop at once the act of encroaching upon the dignity and sovereignty of other countries and nations. End quote. The Korean Central News Agency, KCNA, said, it's not an issue limited to the Gaza Strip only, it added. The North Korea has been an outspoken critic of the situation in Gaza, condemning Israel for its quote unquote ruthless massacre of Palestinians and calling the U.S. an accomplice to its crimes. And that's Tony G for DCG News, me. So yeah, that's the kind of reporting I do about how Palestine and about how North Korea and the DPRK. Dude, every single time, all these liberals, they're all like, oh my God, like it's okay to be like cool for Cuba and like cold for like the old USSR, but you cannot be cool with modern Russia or North Korea because they're bad, or you can't be cool with modern China because they're capitalists. Oh my God, you guys do not read, please read Marx. Please read more about Xi Jinping and who he is and how Xi Jinping is an actual devoted communist. And even when he had disagreement, Mao was very aging and had like an aging mind. So he kind of had some disagreements with Xi Jinping. But even then, he knew that he was going through his Alzheimer's shit. So when he um outcasted Xi Jinping, Xi Jinping was still till Mao's final days a devout supporter of Mao and even apologized to him. And Mao apologized to Xi Jinping, and they made up. And Mao even said, like, yeah, you're right. And like, yeah, Xi Jinping is the shit. He totally is the father of like modern China. I mean, completely changed China into an absolute superpower. They needed Mao to have the revolution, and then they needed Xi Jinping to run it. Just like Lenin, they needed Lenin for the revolution, but they needed a real gangsta motherfucker. Like Stalin also helped with the revolution too. You gotta forget, he was robbing banks and literally robbing banks to support the revolution, and also ran the revolution. So when I talk about some of the best, like literally craziest, most dope ass figures in history, one of the top people was Stalin. I mean, totally gangster, totally smart. He was like a poet. The man literally did it all. But anyway, I think we might wrap up for Um, today's episode. I don't really think I have much else to say. Oh yeah, the Palestinian, that Venezuelan girl. Basically, if you're watching this, I hope you are watching this. I hope you can learn more about the situation and that yes, whether or not you're right, I just want to tell you this is a fact. America does spend trillions of dollars to brainwash you and your people to hate your own people and to hate your president. I just want to tell you that. But yeah, because like I even want to start bringing on my followers because I want us to feel more like a community. So like I want to have her on and we can actually talk with her. Maybe we can do it when we start live streaming. Let me guys know, like DM me and like even put down in the comments of whether you're watching this on SoundCloud, maybe YouTube. If Patreon's the best place to watch, but some of you broke motherfuckers don't want to pay even though it's only $5. So if you're not gonna watch on Patreon, because on Patreon you can watch the video and support us. Um, second best place to watch is YouTube because you can actually watch it. Everywhere else like Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, you all have to just listen to that. But if you're doing something, that's fine. If you just want to listen, that's fine. That's why we also announce things while we're watching for the listeners who can't see it. But anyway, yes, I think maybe we should have her on and like go through and try to convince her why she shouldn't hate Maduro. But basically, I don't know if she even is maybe smart enough to understand what we're saying to even get on our side because she kind of just kept repeating like he starves people, he kills people that doesn't agree with him, he's a murderer, he's a dictator, and I was like, what about Chavez? He's like, Chavez is the devil, and then that's when I knew when she literally called Chavez the devil. I was like, okay, I'm out of here. But anyway. I even showed her like resources of like how much gold they have and how Maduro literally uses the gold to fund her own people. And she even says she's like, yeah, I'm a communist, but I don't support Maduro. And I'm like, sound like, look, I'm not saying Maduro's a communist, but he is a socialist, and socialists are on their way towards communism. So if you are a communist, you should definitely support Maduro. Anyway, for more information on Maduro, read Anya Parmpil's book on Maduro. Um, but yeah, I think we're about to wrap it up for this episode, guys. The Charlie Kirk shooting, holy shit, that was crazy. We'll have more information. More information's coming up about that. What else has been going on, really? I might look through my notes real quick, just because it's just us chilling and just talk for a little bit, guys. Just hang out. Oh yeah, what do you guys think about tell me in the comments what you guys think about these kind of videos that I've been doing. Where it's like for those that can't read it, it says I'm pointing and it says the three legends of then versus now. And then the next slide over, it's it's the next slide over, it's Mao, Stalin, and Kim Il-sung. Or like his father. Honestly, my brain is so foggy right now. Um, and then I did this video here. Basically, I took a video that I already wanted to post, like the comparison of Xi Jinping, Putin, and Kim to the comparison of Stalin and Mao and them. And I already had that video, and I said, "How about I do something where I put my face like this? I got it. Someone else did it, and I'm like, you know what? What it does is it makes my face more recognizable for my brand." So I thought, let me actually start doing that. And also, Instagram loves putting facial recognition. Like if it can recognize your face, it loves to platform your videos higher and get your videos more likes. So those posts actually did uh pretty fucking good um for what they were. Oh yeah, Sergey Lavrov seen wearing the CCP sweatshirt. This is also this is something I made literally like a year ago where Putin's State Duma, I forgot his name. He was a State Duma. He's like a general sec he's like this a State Duma in Russia is some kind it's another word for like a general secretary of some shit of some state. He claimed that the USSR returning was an inevitability and supposedly a lot of people surrounded by Putin really believed that and want the USSR to come back. And then when I seen Lavrov wearing the CCP shirt, I'm like, dude, this is literally going down. Like this USR is literally returning. That's one of my theories. And that's also like one of my theories, like the way the vibe's going, it's really time for a comeback for this USSR and like Stalin coming back from the dead or whatever, like Marx coming back. Anyway, but yeah, like these vibe ships I've been feeling, I really feel like USR coming back actually like might be a probability. And I'm seeing these little signs here and there. I'm doing these little reportings on it. But yeah, my reporting I did, I said, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in Alaska with the letters CCP, CC, CCCP clearly printed across his front, the Russian acronym for USSR. He was seen walking out of his car in the Russian designer top before brazenly conducting interviews with the media in it. Ahead of crunch talks between Putin and Donald Trump to discuss ending the war in Ukraine, this comes just months after Putin's State Duma, Russia's lower house deputy, that's his name, Anatoly Wasserman was quoted saying, "The revival of the USSR in one form or another is not a hope, but an inevitability. We're so back, baby. We're so back." He said it's not a hope, it's inevitability, which he's saying, like, yeah, I hope it happens. He's saying, like, not only do I hope it happens, it is going to happen. But yeah, I actually think that's a really fun way to really, like, and also a good way to end the show. Um, Another thing though is like while I was been by myself, usually I do this with my host and co-host, man. Like seeing this shit what's happening in Palestine and now it's been happening. And it's so sad to kind of like end on like a sad note. But like seeing these videos, man, like sometimes I just seriously I don't know what to do. And like I deal with like haters and shit all the time on Instagram. That's fine. I don't really care about that. But trying to like one of the reasons why I couldn't be here because he had to work. We both work. And I DoorDash to even he doesn't have to DoorDash because he makes some money at his job. But I DoorDash to supplement my work. It is so fucking hard in this system to try to do this and fucking like inform you guys while also keeping up and watching these videos of babies having their head blown off and their legs blown off and kids holding their lifeless mothers and um I just you know it but all we can do is try to be hopeful. Like I try to end on the coming back of the USSR and like hopefully maybe the USSR comes back and they stop Israel. Who knows? I honestly think during the resistance with we're doing the Axis of Resistance series, like Hezbollah Axis of Resistance series episode, the Houthis, aka Ansar on Law episode. I think our next episode is going to be on Hamas. I think after this episode we have this interview, this girl we want to interview who's going to come on, but for sure either that if she doesn't come on that or the episode directly after that we are doing the long waited for Hamas Axis of Resistance episode. I think we had Houthis, Hezbollah, Iran, and the fourth. I think it might be the last one too. Like the 1 to 4, the fourth and final piece of the Axis of Resistance episode, which will be on Hamas. And I'm gonna do a lot of research, do a lot of editing, make it look really cool too. So that's something cool to end on, something good to look out for. But thank you guys so much. But what I was trying to say is it's really fucking hard dealing with this shit. Like I even have some people like I'll have a girl I'm talking to and they'll go and like find them and like message them weird shit and harass them because they don't like me or they don't like my politics. I mean, some of them I even think like they like my politics, but they just are jealous of me. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm smart and good looking. Because like I said, when you're smart and good looking and like you're cool and shit, people really fucking hate that because they need to at least say, look, you might be like, yeah, you're smarter than me, but that's you. You're a nerd. At least I'm cool. Or, oh, you might be really cool, but that's you. That's you. I'm smart. I'm a nerd. Or, but when you're all those three of those things, they can't say, oh, well, I'm not smarter than you. Oh, or I'm not cooler than you either. Oh, and I'm not better looking than you either. I have nothing. Infuriates them. Infuriates them. But I don't give a fuck. Don't if you want to support me, don't do it because of that. Support me because I like me dealing with this job shit, and trying to find a better job, and pay the roof over my head and pay this StreamYard that I'm using, the Zoom I'm using right now. It costs money. Just the subscription costs money. My laptop costs money. The internet costs money. And it's hard to live, man. So if you want to support me and support my work and my reporting and doing my reporting on the podcast and shit like that, please and thank you. Go to Patreon and support us on Patreon, patreon.com/DrugCultGang. A new thing, if you don't want to do the subscription, we have a one-time donation thing. You can find it anywhere. Just go to Instagram, go to my link, the link in the bio, and it will say all my links. Or I think I even have all my links in like one, or yeah, just go to all my links. Just click on one of the links. You click on the links, and like this, the first link will be Patreon because mostly I want people to go there. The second link is Buy Me a Coffee because it's not a subscription like Patreon where every month you take $5. It's not a subscription. The second link, Buy Me a Coffee, you click on that and you can donate an amount. You can donate any amount. You can give me a donation to support my work, which is a donation of any amount. It could be $1. It could be, $5. It could be $7. Say, hey, all I got is, $20 right now. But I don't want to do the subscription thing because I don't want to have to remember to turn it off. But I'll give you like $50 right now. So I'll cover like, 5 months of me and being support. Anything. You give me 100, you give me 1,000, just $1,000. That would bless my life right now. Anyway, those are ways you can support my work. I really fucking appreciate it. And yeah, man, I think we're gonna sign off now. So buy me a coffee and Patreon. I'm gonna put all those links in the description of this episode. And peace out, man. Um, we're gonna win. Power to the resistance. We're gonna win. Let's keep it positive, man. I love y'all. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I literally like I came up with DrugCultGang when I was like 16. I kind of realized it was a stupid name when I was like 19. But I was like, dude, I already have such a following, so I just kept with it. And it's been years now. It's been keeping with it. And yeah, I always ask me, I'm like, man, it's kind of silly. Should I change it? Everyone, every single time, they're like, fuck no. That's what you're known by. That's what you're known for, bro. You already have all these followers. Why would you just change it? And they all have to remember this new name. Like, nah. So fuck it. We're gonna keep with it, even though the algorithm pushes us now so much because of the bad words like cult, drug, gang. That's literally the worst word you can pick for the algorithm. So we have to like heavily push through all these algorithm blocks. So yeah, comment on every video you see me post. Like every video you see me post. Please repost every video. Save every video. But yeah, that really helps to get us out there. But yeah, just for watching and listening to what I have to say. When I was like 15 years old, coming up with all these ideas and wanting to be someone that people listen to, I never thought I'd have thousands of people sitting and listening to what I have to say. So I really appreciate that shit. And I'm into it now. So yeah, peace, y'all. Thank you so much. Peace.